Hello, my name is Charles Obiakwar, and so I wanted to talk about the divide in the black community between black African, Caribbean black, and black African Americans. So this is how I look at it. So the same way I say, okay, so the whole world should learn to unite, although you're going to have your vices, you're going to have your good and bad. And I believe that the good should collectively come together, regardless of race, to stop the evil in all communities. And I've addressed that already. I've addressed that part, but especially in the black community, I take it. I'm sensitive to it because I think that there's a lot of potential that we have to conduct business. I think there's a lot of potential that we have collectively as a whole to engage in a lot of trade, a lot of business. We have a huge economy internationally from Africa to the Caribbean to America. I'm not saying I'm perfect on every, on knowing the exact details of everything, but to the best of my knowledge, I know a lot of these details. So I'm saying what I know a lot. So again, when I'm speaking, understand that I'm presenting to you the best of the details that I know at the moment. So I look at it like this: we have a world full of opportunities. It's not always easy though when you have legislation that is hindering you. It's not always easy when you have legislation that is trying to limit your every move, that is actually making it hard for you to eat healthy. It's not easy when you have legislation and administrations that are trying to take away your benefits. And I totally understand how that happens and how that can be a very difficult process. Um, but then what makes it worse is when you are in your own racial group, you are a black person, and you are having tension with another black person. Since I was young, see, I'm Nigerian and Jamaican, born in America, and I've seen, as an ethnic Igbo, and I'm very proud to be ethnic Igbo. I've seen the good and bad of Nigerians and Igbos. I love Nigeria. I don't care if you're Igbo, Yoruba, House of Fulani. I know there's a divide between Muslim and Christians, and even among some of the Igbos against each other. But I love all people. Sometimes you have pure Igbos against mixed Igbo, or Igbos that compete with each other, have issues with each other. But Igbos mostly are great people. We're hardworking people. We're great people. Jamaicans are mostly Black Jamaicans are great, hardworking people. And remember now, Jamaica is also Native American, Taino, and Carib, who I have a lot of respect for. These are the people that saw Christopher Columbus, and the descendants are still here from Cuba to Jamaica to Haiti to Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico to the Les Antilles. You've got the Spain, Portugal. You got the Spanish, you got the Portuguese, the French, the English. Then later on, you have the indigenous servants who came from India and China, and people from from the Middle East, and the Sephardic Jews, and the African Jews, Moroccan and Ethiopian Jews, and Egyptian Jews, and the Middle Eastern Jews, and the North African Jews from the Levant, and the Turkish Jews that came to the Caribbean, including Jamaica, as well as the indigenous servants from North Africa. But anyway, then you also have the Dutch. Let's not forget the Dutch, the Netherlands, the people from Netherlands, and the Dutch is an influence in the Caribbean and the world, and there's good and bad people amongst them. You have good and bad amongst the Belgians. You have good people who've influenced the world from the Netherlands and Belgium, but there's also the dark past, the bad things from the historical colonialism. But let's back to black people. See, then there's African American culture. They have great culture. Many of the African Americans who are originally here before Europeans, or before colonialism, before Columbus, because a lot of them like to say, okay, there's foundational black Americans. So let's break it down. There's two waves here. You have the ones that came directly from the evolutional traveling, who came from Africa thousands of years ago, from when Alaska was connected to Russia and through to East Asia, and they were here. Then there was a second group of Mongoloid that came after. So they had a brown skin, and there was a second group of Mongoloid who had light brown to dark brown skin. But then you still had that next wave of African slaves who were stripped of their land and their identity, who were stolen from Africa, who came to Americas. But see, one thing that African Americans have to understand is not all Africans sold their own. Not all African kings were willing to sell their own. Some were trapped too. Some were misled. Some were also beaten. Some were also tricked. Some were, unfortunately, I'm not going to use those, I try to use, I try to refrain from using graphic words or graphic knowledge, but I think you know where I'm going here. Some African kings were tricked. Some lost their lives, just like how a lot of the African slaves lost their lives, whether it be the slaves that were forced out of Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea-Bissau, Niger, Mali, DRC Congo, or modern day DRC Congo, the Republic of Congo, or the modern day version, of course, Angola, and you had King Leopold and the savage leader King Leopold and his brutality towards the Congolese. You had so many things. Even with the Hutu and Tutsi conflict in Rwanda and in the Great Lakes region, both the Hutu and Tutsi have brutalized each other, and they've committed massacres against each other. They've unfortunately they've engaged in a lot of negativity towards each other, but it didn't have to be that way. There and I'm not going to get into that conflict as well. And that was also another unfortunate reality from 1994. And there was a genocide there, and there were multiple genocides going on. And I hate what happened there. There was a genocide against Tutsi and Hutu, and they both are great people. And I hate the fact that they had to fight each other. And, I'm glad that it's more peaceful now. But there still seems to be a conflict between the Hutu and Tutsi. And you have the Twa also that had to fight for their lives too. You have mixed Hutu and Tutsi. But see, this is what I'm saying. To make a long story short, I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other as Black people. And unfortunately, it's about survival at this point. So if I really wanted to offer some advice, I think we need to learn how to survive, but learn how to make the best practical decisions and not use differences to affect our everyday reality. So as people across the diaspora, whether you be African American or you be from the Caribbean, you could be Black from Jamaica, Black from Puerto Rico, Black from Cuba, Black from the Dominican Republic, Black from Haiti, you could be Black from Nigeria, Ethiopia. The continent of Africa has 54 nations. 54 nations. Black, of course, is the original phenotype, but then you also have white African. You have North African, which is lighter skin African. You have, Arab, which is another type of African, but it's just Afro-Asiatic, of course. Whether you be Nigerian, West African, or Ghanaian, Senegalese, West African, Niger, Mali, or you be Moroccan, Tunisian, Algerian, North African, Egyptian, Ethiopian, Eritrean, Somalian, East African, Rwandan, Burundian, Congolese, Central African, Angolan, Mozambique, South African, So I think there's a lot to learn and level it down. And I don't want to keep rambling and going. But I just want to say I don't like the divide between Black Africans and African Americans and Caribbean Blacks. It's very unfortunate. And then there's, you have these statistics going on. You got the Black on Black crime. You got Blacks attacking each other. Of course, every race attacks each other, but then, sometimes you have, Black on white crime or white on Black crime. You've got whites that, sometimes there's Blacks fighting white against, sometimes black people and white people fight each other, or Black people and white and Hispanics fight each other. And I know there's Hispanic on Hispanic crime and white on white crime, but and I know that sometimes there's Black on Blacks versus Asians, and I know sometimes Blacks fight Asians, and then there's Asian on Asian crime. But and I know that as long as you have ignorance, you're always gonna have ignorance. But this Black on Black crime thing, even though it's gonna happen because of ignorance, it's just really stupid and pathetic. We could do better. We've had our civil rights movement. This is not what our ancestors fought so hard for. We've been through all these phases of our civilizations. In Africa, I mean, even though there may have been tribal warfare between different tribes and fighting between different tribes and negativity, it wasn't always the case. Africa had inventions, had scientists and engineers. Africa had innovators, and kings and queens. We weren't always fighting each other. Of course, you had negativity in Africa, and yes, Africans did enslave each other before Europeans and Arabs enslaved Africa. But you see, we have to learn to think outside the box. But to make a long story short, I don't like the divide. Hopefully, we can learn to think in more practical, business minded ways. We have $1 trillion. We have billions and billions of dollars that we can use to help each other, and we don't. Even if everybody plays a different role. Some people are more introverted than others. Some people are more extroverted than others. Everybody is not always going to be out there doing different things. Some people, we have to understand who our strengths and weaknesses and learn financial literacy and apply reality to different things. So just wanted to say those things and then just start off with that. And, if you ever have any comments or you have anything that you want to add to the table, let me know. But I'm just saying, this is just what I'm assuming. I'm going to continue to focus on my studies, focus on what I have to do, and apply myself to my reality, of course. But this is just my, personal perspective. All right. Have a good day. All right. Goodbye. Have a good day.